Hi, this is Jill, and Jill Speaks Wisdom. I want to talk about, are you working with a narcissistic, toxic colleague? It's very common, very, very common. Many people are working with these people, and it makes their work life unbearable. And they try to say, well, gee, well, what is it? It's that person, but they're toxic, and they're making your job unbearable. So they're wolf in sheep's clothing. They're going to present to the boss as this great, employee and a team player. But in fact, they're very sly in terms of how they treat other colleagues, especially colleagues that they may be jealous over. They're going to, treat you a certain way. So some of the things that they'll do is throw you under the bus to advance themselves. So they'll try to get you in trouble and you won't even know what's going on. You hear about it later and you're in shock. I can relate to all these things because they have happened to me. And with all the workplaces I worked in, it is more common that there is a toxic narcissistic colleague than not. So they exist in almost every corporate structure. They'll also withhold info to make you look bad. Maybe they say, oh, she never showed up to the meeting, when in fact you were never told about the meeting. They were supposed to send you an email. They never did it. They will also use the silent treatment with you. So they won't communicate with you about what's going on at work and how you're going to work together on projects. So it's going to make it much more difficult. And then if you try to say, well, they're not talking to me, people aren't going to believe it because they'll see that they're talking to them. So it makes it confusing. Narcs act entitled, very entitled, and they cozy up to the boss. They're very good at this. Even though they're just probably an average employee and you're like a way better employee and you outshine them, that's just not your way. You're not the type to cozy up to the boss and play favorites, and you just do your job. You want to do your job, do it well, and go home. These toxic colleagues, they somehow take credit for your work. So say you're like the salesperson out and you're bringing in all this new business and it's coming in, and some of the business is definitely called into the office as well, but you know what's yours. But they will take credit and say it's theirs, because what happens if you're really good at your job and they see you're bringing it in, they feel like you're getting all the accolades and they're not. So they'll literally start lying and saying, oh no, that I took on that piece of business. They called it in. That was my piece of business. It happened to me because I was bringing in so much business. It made the narcissistic colleagues there look not as good to the boss anymore. They pretended they excelled, but they didn't. So they will steal credit for your new customers. They will triangulate with senior leadership and the coworkers against you. If they're jealous of you, which many toxic narcissists can find people they're jealous of, they will triangulate you, which is trying to turn you against, or have the bosses and the colleagues turn against you, making up God knows what as information against you. This happened to me. Initially, I was good with everyone, all the staff, all the bosses. I was the person bringing in the new customers. And profits were coming in because of me, and they knew that. Yet two toxic women in so-called management who wanted to be the top dog somehow turned the office against me. And then they must have saw me as a threat to their ego. And then, of course, they would try to make stuff up to the boss that I didn't come to the meeting, which wasn't true. They didn't tell me about the meeting. So, long story short here is, if the boss and the colleagues where you work are both narcissistic, things will not change. No matter what you do, they're going to be playing their toxic games. So try to make a strategy to leave at some point. If just the colleagues are toxic and not the boss, it still can be difficult, but you might be able to manage if the boss is not narcissistic. So I wish everyone luck with this, because I know what it can be like, and you don't deserve that. You don't deserve, it's like little children. They're like emotionally immature people, little children playing games. And the games are, you know, taking away people's salary, taking away their income, their way to make a living, and they don't care. And in fact, they probably should be the one fired because you're doing a fine job. You're doing a fine job. Your clients like you. It's just that they tried to turn, or they did turn everyone against you in the office. So this is Jill Speaks Wisdom. Please give me a like and please comment. Any comments that, you know, you get this, you see this, so we'll know how prevalent it is, even amongst the viewership. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.